Hi everyone, John Davenport here from Vulgaropoly.com with another Let's Edit video. Today we're going to do this photograph here. We're just going to quickly go through it. But before we do that, before we get on with the edit, something that I thought that would be kind of cool to do is just go through some of these photographs that I've been posting and share with you how I kind of set my camera up in a little bit more detail. And we'll actually even take a look at some photographs that show you that I can kind of point out where my camera was set up, so that you'll get kind of an idea of how you approach a scene and find the best angles. So I have this angle here of the waterfall. I have this angle that I took. I have this angle here that I took, and then there's this wide angle here. So the original photograph, or the one that I chose to publish, was this one, which I think is probably the best representation of the waterfall itself. I think it's the most interesting photo of the bunch that I collected. But you might not realize how much room there is to work with here. So here's the whole scene, that you would get. I'm actually, to photograph this particular scene, I'm on a wooden bridge that goes over the river. And to photograph the one that I published, I was basically up here on this rock on the other side of the log. So we can get a better look at that in this photograph. I was standing on this rock here, or more like kneeling, and I had my tripod set up somewhere in the vicinity here with my camera obviously on top, pointing at the waterfall. Wide angle lens, you really don't need to be far away to capture a very wide field of view. So being only a few feet away from the waterfall, you're still able to capture the entire scene as a whole here. So that's one one shot to keep in mind. Here's another one that I shared, and on Facebook I might have even published this. I think I did publish this photograph on a Friday, on an iPhone Friday shot. But this photo actually is literally a behind-the-scenes shot of the one that I published. So I know it's a little blurry, but you might be able to make out. Here's the little piece of wood and the rocks, and you got the river there. Pretty similar to this photograph here. I don't know if it's the exact same one. I took a bunch of this scene, but the camera was set up in pretty much the same area, and I only had maybe a 2 foot by 2 foot rock to stand on to keep my feet dry, and the camera itself was set up in a basically in the river. And yeah, so that's how I captured that photo. And one last one here, we have this nice telephoto shot taken of just some rapids downstream. Here's a wide angle shot of a very similar location. The rapids are all the way down here. I was somewhere in the vicinity of this photo. I think I was a little bit further up. I might have been up in this general area here, but you get the idea. Using the 300mm lens, I was able to really zoom in and have a much different perspective than I got with my 11mm. So now we'll jump back into the regular scheduled programming and get on with our edit this week. I chose this photo. It's just a very simple photograph of a rock that I took. I took it from the shore, pretty much shooting kind of down, maybe about 45 degrees from the bank of the river, I guess. And the water's just flowing by this rock. I thought it would be a pretty cool photo. The settings that I used here were ISO 100, 300mm, f9, and a 1 second exposure. You really don't need a very long exposure at all when you have the river moving so fast. So it really does blur the water away pretty quickly, which is nice. The first thing I'm going to do, you can see I've already selected my healing brush here. I'm going to go in and quickly heal out this stick here because I really find it distracting. In Photoshop, if I was publishing this photo, I'd probably go into Photoshop and do it afterwards. But because I want to keep this series, dedicated to Lightroom edits, we're just going to make do with what we have, and that is our clone tool. I know for those of you that are using Lightroom 5, from what I understand, Adobe has improved it a little bit. I don't know if it's a vast improvement, but I have heard it's an improvement over what I have here in Lightroom 4. But yeah, it's doable. It's just a little more work, and you might not get the best results out of it every time, but I think it works. I forget which Let's Edit video I went in a lot more detail of how the clone tool works, but basically you're just clicking and dragging to a different point and copying that over onto the part that you want to remove. So anyway, let's get on here. We're going to crop in a little bit because I don't want to clone that piece out, so I'm just going to crop in here from the left and maybe a little from the top, something like that. Boom, that's done. Now we're going to come back into our basic tab. The first thing that I notice is that the highlights are really blown out on this rock, so I can't fix them completely, but I am going to drop them all down to -100. That will kind of at least subdue them a little bit. And then I'm going to come in here to my adjustment brush tool with my exposure set maybe just maybe 0.6 in the positive, you know, a little more than half a stop, and I'm just going to come in here and paint basically everywhere that I can without affecting the highlights too much. And basically what this is going to do is just bring more brightness to that water, because as we dropped the highlights, we really lost a lot of the brightness there, and I think it really hurt the image quite a bit. But by kind of bringing it back with the adjustment brush, we can go in like this and we're good. One final thing I want to do, maybe just a touch more there, is come down to my shadows and raise those up a little bit, and that'll again brighten all the dark areas of the water, and it'll also help brighten up this piece here of the rock which is covered in shadow. It won't get the darkest areas because those are really much more like the blacks, which we can raise up if we wanted to, but I'm actually going to drop the blacks a little, which will add a little bit more contrast to the dark areas of this photo. And at the same time, I'm going to just ever so slightly raise the whites, which will brighten up a little bit as well. Now, finally, I want to reduce the clarity, which will help soften the water a little more. I'm going to add a little bit of vibrance just to get that green to really pop. And then I'm going to come down to my detail tab. I'm holding down my option key to get my overlays. I'm going to sharpen, add a lot of sharpness here, and then I'm going to raise the radius slider, I'm going to raise the detail slider, and then to have these sharpening tools only affect the rock, I'm going to raise my masking tool pretty much almost all the way, maybe like 74 or so, and that way, basically when I do this, anything that's white is being affected by the sharpening tools, everything that's black is being ignored. So basically the rock is the only thing that's going to be sharpened by those tools. So here's our before image. It's, you know, okay. We didn't really do a lot to it. I think removing that stick was a big move in the right direction, and then reducing the highlights also helped quite a bit. But overall, I think it's a better edit, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you liked that first part with the kind of before, or the kind of how I set my cameras up type of thing. If you did, I will try and do more of those. I'll try and specifically take photos in the field to kind of show you where and how I set my cameras up. So thank you for watching, and I will try and be back again next week with another Let's Edit video. Bye for now.